Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. This is the live podcast with me, Owen, and my co-host Victoria Searle, and also we're joined from Heart and Hand tonight by Dave Marshall. So, Dave, let's start off with you. How are you doing, Dave? How's your Good Friday going?
Yeah, it's great. I was bobbing along to the theme tune there. That's catchy. That was you caught me off guard there a wee bit. I was on camera, still nodding away at myself, but no complaints, mate. I had a good Friday so far off work, so I was just hanging out with the kids, enjoying some of the sun, and trying to put off my mind tomorrow somewhat. I'd say.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the music was actually a gift from one of my. Well, I was doing my American channel. One of the guys who's a subscriber to my American channel does music, and he's just sent me it and said, "If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it." So he sent it to me for free, and so I thought, "Yeah, I'll use it. I'll use it." Victoria, fresh back from her round the world trip. Victoria, how are you
I
doing this
know.
evening?
I'm doing good. I'm like slowly getting back together. I apologize, you guys, if you see my mic be muted, it's because I'm probably coughing, but I'm doing good. I've been working lots, been interacting with you guys on the live chats, which has been really, really good. But I'm excited for this podcast because we have so much to chat about with everything that's been going down. I don't know about you guys, Dave and Owen, but I feel like there's been a lot of Rangers news recently.
Hmm.
What do you think, Owen?
Absolutely, yeah. There's been so much going on this week, and we're going to obviously try and talk through some of those issues. And apparently, there's a little game
Mhm.
taking place in Glasgow tomorrow that David kind of alluded to that we're,
Oh,
I think, all trying to just kind of avoid a little bit at the moment, thinking about. Let's say hello to some people in the live chat first. So we've got Nicholas, good friend Nicholas. He is in the live chat. I'll bring his comment up in a moment. There we go. Should come up now. Good evening from everyone. South Wales loyal. Nicholas, one of our mods. Charlotte S94. So thank God Raskin is fit. I think that's something we all definitely echo there, Charlotte. Brian as well in the live chat. Only 4 home nations as well. Hopefully, Rangers can win tomorrow. 100% agree with you there. And what else have we got here? That's pretty much all to say, guys. So, yeah, welcome to all those people who are in the live chat. Right, guys. So, we're going to talk about a bit of Rangers news. Where to start? It's been a quiet week in Glasgow, hasn't it? Very quiet, but no, not really. So the eventful week, never a dull moment surrounding the most successful team, the best team in football. David, did you see this Douglas Park stepping down coming, or has this come out of completely left field, or did you think that perhaps, like some people have said, he would go in the summer, and this has just come as a complete surprise?
I'd say it's a complete surprise, even to say if he was going in the summer. I think that'd have still been completely out the blue. Yeah, I was totally caught off guard. But can't say expect it whatsoever. I would say the timing is, just absolutely classic Rangers on the week before an Old Firm game. Then we announced that the chairman's stepping down. That just seems very much on brand for us. I can understand, there's you can make the argument that there's never really a good time to announce that. It's always going to be big news. It's always going to be distracting. And if he was to leave it a week, say he does it next week, and tomorrow goes south, then that's not a great look either. But no, I was very much completely surprised by this.
Victoria, what's your take
yeah.
on it? I mean, were you shocked at the departure of Douglas Park?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely was. I mean, I'm someone that always thinks that no matter what position you're in, you see the season through. Once it ends, if you're going to decide to leave, then that's what you decide to do. So it kind of came as a bit of a shock when I picked up my phone all of a sudden and it was like, bam, he's gone. I'm like, this came out of the blue. I don't know about you, Dave, but did you find the timing strange after the whole share issue and Beale saying that he had more money to spend on the up and coming season?
No, yeah, that's a good point as well. Something I thought of there. Yeah, it was a day after this share issue got
Yeah.
announced, wasn't it? That he stepped down. Yeah, the timing of it, especially in relation to that, does seem a bit weird. I'd say doing it now speaks to the fact that we are looking to the future. I'd say, let's get John Bennett in there as chairman, and let's start making the plans for next season. I think that's good to have. Instead of having this hanging over us, like the decisions be made now. We know it's happening. We know it's happened. So let's get let's get right back to planning for a successful Rangers next season.
Yeah, no, I
Absolutely. I
totally
mean,
agree with you there.
Yeah, I think it was very strange. To me, it just seemed, I don't know, a bit suspicious that it came the day after that share issue came out. The fact that, the share issue came out, the club weren't really abundantly clear as to why they made that share issue. There was obviously a lot of talk. Is it to raise more money for playing staff, or is it because they need to raise equity to repay loans? There was no sort of clarity on that. And I think and then obviously Michael Beale comes out and says, I've got more money than Rangers managers, which I don't think he probably should have said. I think Michael Beale does a little bit of media training on how to speak to the media. He does perhaps say too much at times, but it did seem awfully strange that Park went. What's your impressions of John Bennett? What's your impressions of Dave Bennett? John Bennett, Dave.
Again, I don't really know, to be honest. I think for the vast majority of times I've heard John Bennett speak, I've been impressed. I think one of the problems with Douglas Park was that, well, what a lot of Rangers fans want in a chairman is someone to be that visible figurehead, and that I don't think that was ever really Douglas Park's thing. Doesn't like put himself out in front of the camera too often. We didn't really hear from him very too often, and that, of course, goes along with the communication issues between the club and the fans. And I think that might be something that John Bennett might be better at. I think he is certainly more adapt to being that visual figurehead, somebody that, again, I think it's another problem. I think a lot of casual fans look at the structure, the hierarchy of the club, and it's quite hard to figure out sometimes just who's running the ship. Who's that captain? Who is it that's making those day-to-day decisions? Who's in charge of Rangers? And I think, I don't know, just for listening to him from speaking in the past, I think John Bennett might be more suited to that as a guy we can point to and go, no, he's the one calling the shots.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, what I've heard from a lot of people about John Bennett himself, that he is a Rangers man through and through.
Yeah.
Which, as I spoke about earlier in a different podcast, is that we have to keep things in the family. We can't have just some random person coming in saying, yep, sure, this is just a job, I'll go and do it. No, you have to step into this job loving Rangers, because if you don't love the team, you're not going to put in as much effort as you should. And winning all this silverware isn't going to mean as much to you. But I feel like with John, and hopefully up and coming, it's going to mean a lot to him. So he's going to really be thinking about this. So you think he is the man for the job, Dave?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know how much, the cynical side of me is I don't know how much will change, because, I mean, John Bennett is Douglas Park's man, as is Stuart Robinson. Douglas Park is still, still a major shareholder in Rangers. He's not disappearing totally from the scene. It could be, Bennett could still be there making decisions on behalf of Douglas on Douglas Park. I would like to hope so. I'm very much prepared at this moment to give him a chance, and let's see how. I mean, this thing as well. If things start well next season, or they end well this season, a lot of the backroom chat or the boardroom chat goes away. But I think it is fair to say that the club has lagged behind certain areas, and a lot of areas, particularly when it comes to kicking on from 2021. 55s over 2 years ago now. So we need to, and we're at a point now where we are chasing again. So we need to get to a point where we are the leaders again. Is John Bennett the man to get us there in the behind the scene capacities? I don't know, but yeah, at this point, I'm willing to give him the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, we've just got to sort of see how things go. I mean, he's got a very full in tray, hasn't he, Dave, going in? He's got so many issues that he needs to think about. And I just want one thing I want slightly off what we're talking about, but it's come up in the live chat a couple of times, was the things about Morelos. Now, obviously, there was a report last night on the BBC about Alfredo Morelos, which I'm going to find the comment that came about it. Here we go. This was the comment. It was from Brian. So really, is Morelos never playing for Rangers again? Not heard much about it, to be honest. So obviously the report was that in the BBC that, and it's I think a guy called Kenny Young, I think, broke it, saying that Morelos was finished at Rangers, that he's definitely going in the summer, that's it, that he's not and the manager's plans anymore. How much creep paper talk, and we've got to take it with a pinch of salt, Dave?
Again, I've not spoke to anyone that come out with this, but speaking to people who I would consider to be knowledgeable about these things, a bit more informed than I am, it is my opinion that Morelos won't be a Rangers player next season.
No, I think that's a very good chance he won't be. I mean, if you look as well at the number of EPL clubs that are swarming around him at this moment in time, you've seen, was it Villa, Palace, Middlesbrough? I know not Premier League yet, but they're on the verge of. I've heard Burnley even linked with him today. I think if an EPL club comes in, they're going to be able to match his wage demands because of just the sheer amount of money down there. So I think you're probably right.
What I would say, sorry, just to butt in, I don't think this is particularly a solely Morelos decision as well. I think both parties are at the point where it's like where they both think that it's time to part ways. So I don't think this is purely down to the player. I think Rangers are at a point where they want to move on, and I think Morelos is at a point where he wants to move on too.
Mm-hmm. Victoria, what's your take on this whole Morelos news that's coming around at this moment in time?
Well, you guys aren't going to like this, but I'm going to have to say I disagree with you. It's I don't know. There's just something about Morelos. I think he's here for possibly another season. It's always been something when I watched him, I feel like it's always been iffy. There's always been news saying, oh, he's going, and then all of a sudden he's staying. I mean, he was supposed to leave months ago, but yet here he is. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have been watching, but I think his wife was actually back home and she's recently come back to Glasgow. So like that kind of says something as well. Like I don't think he's going anywhere. And I'm watching the live chat to get other people's opinions on this. And I think I see a lot of people thinking that yeah, he is going to leave, but I don't know. I think one more season, as well as depending on, is there going to be money that's going to come in for how much we could get for him? That's another thing that is about the money too.
Yeah, these things can change fast as well. I mean, I don't think if we were sitting here last year, I don't think anyone would have thought that Connor Golson would have still been a Rangers player going into this season. Yeah. So, I mean, these things can literally change by the hour, change by the day. So, I mean, right now, I don't think he will be, but another week or two down the line, and that could change.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, if we start with the question to you, Dave, first of all, like I said, I know slightly off what we're talking about, but I mean, obviously Alfie's big news, but do you think, a lot of people in the live chat are saying this, and it's not just the live chat, I've heard this on multiple podcasts as well, listening to Rabble, listening to Heart and Hand, listening to Rangers Review. There's a lot of people who think that Alfie's heart's just not in it anymore, that he's kind of checked out 12 months ago, that he's just not the same player he was in the 55 title winning season. Do you think that's a fair criticism of Alfie, or do you think that's unfair?
I'd probably land somewhere in the middle there. I think I'd certainly say he's not been the same player this season than he has in previous seasons. I think at times his conditioning and his his general fitness has been absolutely shocking. To say he's checked out, somewhat, I think so. I don't think I wouldn't go down the line of saying he's chipped it or anything like that, but I think I just think he's at a point where he thinks it's a good time to go.
Victoria, what do you think? Do you think his heart's still in it, or do you think he has kind of given up?
No, I definitely agree with what Dave has said. I see a slightly, I'm going to say different Morelos this season, especially recently. I see someone's comment over here. Malky mentioned Alfie doesn't score enough goals. I agree with that. I feel like in the past, we watched him and he's been like an absolute animal when he comes on there. He's the kind of player that another team would be like, okay, you got to watch out for him. I see him still trying when he comes on the pitch and wanting it, but the results aren't always there the way that it used to be. Don't know the reason of this. I don't know the cause of this. It could be something personal that's going on in the background that nobody really knows about. Or it could just be him being like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm ready to move on. I need to go somewhere else. But then again, it could just be bad luck in general. But I do still think he's a fantastic player. I think he comes on with a mindset that he wants to win. As we know, every footballer, they don't come on the pitch thinking, all right, let's see how this goes. They come on
No,
the pitch saying, right, let's get a goal, let's win. You know what I mean? So it's always a hard thing, but yeah, he's definitely changed, but I still feel that fire inside of him. He's Colombian, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a bit of fire there, isn't there? South American players. Yeah, I mean, so that's going to be one of the things that's obviously going to be in John Bennett's inbox, and I think just going back to Douglas, just finishing off on Douglas Park for a minute, if we can. He's someone I think who he divides the opinion in with Rangers fans, doesn't he? He very much, there is two definite camps of thought, isn't there? There's those that are very thankful for all the work he's done for the club, seeing us through COVID, helping us to rebuild, putting his own money in when we needed money. Yet there's others that think that he's been tight. He hasn't invested in the playing squad, obviously since 55, not kicking on. Do you think the criticism he gets is fair, Dave?
Again, I think it falls somewhere in the middle. I'm not one who likes to go into things with black and white opinions. I think everything's a shade of grey, and I think overall history will look upon quite fairly towards Douglas Park, because the guy did stick his hand in his pocket, particularly over that COVID period into the 55 season, when it was really needed, when the club needed that investment to keep us going. Over that time, what he done with others like Dave King to rescue the club away from the Spibs and whatnot, that stuff shouldn't be forgotten. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that he is above criticism and that he's absolutely perfect and he's got everything right. He absolutely hasn't. There have been things in terms of the club management in the last 2 years that haven't been right, that have been the detriment to the progress of the team and the club as a whole. And so, so he gets the criticism for that. It's, the level of criticism, you can argue if that's too strong or not. For me, I'd probably think so, but I'm not shedding too many tears over him leaving. I think change might be good for us, but I'm certainly not, I'm not going to select the guy too much. I think overall he's done a very good job over his time at Rangers. He did put his hand in his pocket, and he goes my thanks, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the change brings to the club.
Absolutely. Victoria, do you think the criticism that he gets is fair?
Personally, no. I think it's a very, very difficult job to have. As you know, like being in the spotlight, you're always going to get people's opinions that don't understand the full aspect of the job, because there's so much going on behind the scenes that we don't always see. But I definitely agree with Dave that he has done a great job. The guy did put his hand in his pocket, and to me that shows that he does have a love for Rangers. And like you said as well yourself, Dave, change is never a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing, and we have to go through all these different changes in life, sometimes for the better. It might be a little uncomfortable at the time and we might be a little nervous, but in the end we're going to realize, oh, you know what, we have to give this new person a chance. We have to show them that they can do the job, and they'll show us in return, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And I'm sure that with Douglas stepping down, he's obviously going to pass on a little bit of advice to the next person, and hopefully that person will take that advice and make it better, and so on and so forth. And that's how we'll be able to grow as a team. How do you feel about that, Owen?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think, that, like I said, I think the criticism is a little bit unfair. The fact that the guy did put his hand in his own pocket. I mean, okay, yeah, I know he got his money back, but, it's still at that time to do that is a big thing. He saw us through COVID. He was the chairman when we won 55. He was the chairman whilst we were on that amazing Europa League run. So he deserves the praise for that. And I think, like Dave says, it's exciting to see what the future holds now. And he goes with our thanks. We can't change the past, and we look forward with John Bennett now. And we look forward to see what happens, and we give John Bennett a clean slate to actually to go again. And he's got an awful lot to think about, hasn't he, over the next sort of few months and next year as we build towards obviously next season. So yeah, definitely. Yeah,
exactly. And talking about that next season kind of stuff, Goldson had a couple of interesting things to say. in his little speech that he made. Dave, do you have any comment on what Connor Goldson had to say?
Well, in terms of us saying that we haven't kicked on from 55, I mean, certainly domestically, I'd absolutely agree with that. There's obviously the big anomaly in there that was the Europa League run last year, which
Yeah.
looking on it now in terms of the team, whereas it looks even stranger how we managed to do that. But no, I'd agree. I think over the past, it's 2 years now, there's been plenty of players within the squad who have underperformed or have been unable to get themselves to the level of that 55 season, which is understandable, I suppose, in a way, because it was, in terms of the league, so extraordinary. What a high level that we hit in the 55 season. But yeah, at the same time, though, I do find these comments kind of frustrating when the players come out and say that again, because we are 2 years down the line from 55 now. For them to be realizing that they haven't kicked on, I don't really want to hear them saying that. I just, kick on. Show me you kicking on then, because I know you're more than capable. If you know that you have underperformed, then why?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It goes back to that saying, actions speak louder than words. So show up, show us what you want to do. Don't say, oh yeah, we've noticed this. Yeah, we've all probably noticed it too, but go ahead and show us how we can be better. Owen, what do you think of the comments that he had to make with Goldson?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Goldson's right in what he says. We didn't press home our advantage after 55. We haven't gone on and kicked on. And I don't think he went on, he did go on to say, oh, we're back to square one. I don't think we're back to square one. I don't think we're that far back. In terms of the way Beale's come in and the changes he's already made to the squad and the way he's got the team playing and the belief that he's got in the team. And, he's certainly shown that he can acquire quality players, with Cantwell and Raskin, for example. So I agree, though, with David, and I agree with you. I think players at times need to do their talking on the pitch. They do say a little bit too much at times. And I think the kind of testimony to that was the fact that I think he said something like, I know I need to be careful what I've got to say here because I don't want to create a bad headline. Well, don't say it then. Just don't come out and say it. If you know it's going to create a bad headline, don't say anything. But it's certainly got, I think, the fan base talking. It got the podcasts, the Rangers podcasters talking. It got us all talking, didn't it? And I think if Gerrard had stayed and not gone to Villa, do you think that we would have gone on to win 56? Do you think there would have been a better chance of building on that 55, Dave? Or do you think it would have just gone the same way?
I think if Gerrard stayed last season, I think we'd have won the league. I don't think we'd have got the Europa League run. But I think the stagnation in the team was still coming, and I could have seen this season going the same way. I think we'd have probably done enough last year to limp over the line, but I still think we'd have been at this point. We might not be as far behind as we are. It might be quite even going into the last few weeks, but I still think there would be some major work needing done as we'd be sitting here in April 2023, even if Steven Gerrard was still the manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Victoria, what do you think? Do you think if Gerrard stayed on, we would have gone on to win 56, or do you think it would have gone the same way? Or I mean, obviously, I think Dave's right myself and what he thinks about the Europa League run. Probably wouldn't have had that. So, Victoria, do you think we would have had the success if Gerrard had stayed?
I think that we would have. I really like Jared's mentality. I really feel like he brought the team together. Like, okay, you guys watch Ted Lasso? He was like a little Ted Lasso. He brought the team together. You've seen the team show up, perform. They kicked off right from the very start. And Jared, as a manager, I think he actually made a difference. I feel like there was a little bit of a gap, a little sadness when he left. But like we spoke about earlier, change is good. Change has to happen. And we can't look back and be like, oh, well, gosh, if we done this right, maybe we would have had this. We can't go back. So whatever it is, it happened, it happened. He's moved on. That was his decision to go at a very unique time again. And we got to where we were, obviously not winning, but getting pretty far, coming, I'd say, second, in that beautiful game in Seville. But yeah, he's definitely missed by myself. I don't know how anybody feels in the live chat about that. But maybe if he stayed, we would have had a chance. Then
Can I just
again, we've got someone new now, so let's see how that goes.
can I just say as well, Owen, I think like a lot the stagnation that we do have now, I would
Hmm.
partly put responsibility on that to Steven Gerrard and the fact that the club was so trying to bend over backwards to meet his will. I mean, Gerrard essentially didn't want us to sell any of our best players, so that means we missed out on selling players like Kent, Morelos, Kamara at their highest value, which then leads into lesser investment going back into the playing squad. So as I said, we may have got over the line last season, but if Gerrard still stayed, we'd still be experiencing a lot of the same problems with the team, with the squad as we have now.
Yeah, I think you're
Hmm.
right there, Dave. I think Gerrard's mentality comes from the fact, obviously, he was at Liverpool, who, in all his career was there. Liverpool aren't a club that need to sell, are they? They don't need to sell players unless they're finished with them. And I think he's come from that mentality. And I think he perhaps would have had to, if he was going to continue to be a success, change his mentality towards how he was at Rangers, and understand that there is a need for the club to sell on players like Alfie, like Ryan
Yep.
Kent, to make a bit of cash to reinvest in players. I mean, I can't remember the exact figure of the bid, but the bid that Lille put in for Alfie way back when, I think, it was what, 15, 16 million or something we
Mhm.
turned down, I think, way back. And Kent, I think,
Mhm.
people were touting around 9-10 million for Kent way back. So I think, yeah, you're right. Gerrard would have had to very much change his mentality if he wanted to stay on as Rangers manager, and understand that, unfortunately, because of the fact that Scottish football doesn't make as much money as English football does, you've got to sell off some of your best players to raise more money to bring in better players, and that's just the way it is. So yeah, I think you're right, and I think there was signs, wasn't there, when Gerrard went, that things were starting to stagnate, that
Oh yeah,
things were starting
yeah.
to come off the boil, and that we were
Mm.
struggling to get results against teams we should be beating. So hopefully, like I said, Michael Beale now, Michael Beale seems to have a very fresh mentality towards it all, and a very, to me, what he's saying as well, he seems to have a very realistic mentality towards the club. And he's talked about, obviously, the out of contract players, but he's also talked about how the fact he's having conversations with the in contract players, as he terms them, and how some of them may be be moved on in the summer. So does Beale fill you with hope for the future, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, the League Cup final is obviously a massive disappointment, and it's currently a black mark against his record, particularly how he turned up that day. I'd say as well how he lined up the team that day. He shouldered a fair bit of responsibility for what happened in the cup final. But since he's came in, and we've won every game in the league bar one draw with Celtic, and that's what knackered us both, not just this season but the season before, as as disheartening as the thumpings of Celtic were. It wasn't those games that cost us the league. It was a silly dropping the silly points against the lesser teams that really hampered us, and that's why we're sitting 9 points behind now, because of the daft results rather than getting beat off Celtic. So I don't think that's going to be as much a problem. I think under Beale we will more often than not see out the games. It's not been pretty for a lot of the games so far under Beale, but there's a fair few games that we've won so far that I don't think we would have under the Van Bronckhorst. So that's a good sign. I'm still very much at the point, there's still a lot to play for this season, but let's get to the summer, let him get his own team in, and then 2-3 months down the line into the season, let's see where we are.
Victoria, are you
Mm.
hopeful for the future under Michael Beale?
I would like to think so. I'm always down to give someone a chance and an opportunity to show what they can do. He's obviously been picked for a reason for this job. But I think we're going to have to see in those next couple of Old Firm games that we have coming up how he's going to show up to them. Something that we mentioned in the past is how we see the team. Yeah, we've done a good job in games, but we've come out slow and we haven't come out fast. And that's something that we're going to have to do coming up in these next couple of Old Firm games. But then, like you said before, he did mention, oh, he has all this money to make his own team. So let's see how he does. And if he believes in himself, why shouldn't the fans believe in him too? Don't you agree, Owen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful with for Beale. I think he's made changes. I think he's made us. I think you look at how he's changed the team as well. We go into games now, and you're not worried about dropping points against some of those teams like Hibs, like Hearts, like Dundee United, like Killy, etc., etc. There's never been a worry of that. Yeah, we do start slow, and that's something that we've got to eradicate for tomorrow. We cannot afford to start slow against them, given how they always come out like a whirling dervish for the first 10 to 15 minutes of most games. But yeah, so I mean that links nicely to obviously the fact that apparently there is a little game going on in Glasgow tomorrow at some point. That obviously we're going to talk a little bit about now. David, I know we spoke off air about this, but what are your? How do you rate Rangers' chances of getting a positive result at that mob tomorrow?
I'm not sure. Give me another couple of hours and a few cans down my neck, and I'll tell you we're going to win 6-0. But here and now, I mean, to echo a lot of comments that I'm seeing in the chat now, until this team can show that they can beat Celtic, then as a fan, why would I have any belief that they're going to? It's incredible to think now in the league we've not beaten Celtic since August 2021, considering the great run we were on before that point. This team needs a good win over Celtic in the league. There's 3 Old Firm games coming up now between now and the end of the season. To echo Victoria's point, and a few points been made in the chat, if we lose all them, or I think particularly the semi-final, then the pressure's on straight away going into next season. Like, there'll be no honeymoon period, there'll be no soft cooling off period where we see how things are. Things will be expected to go right straight away, because the fans will look at it and going, well, where's the signs that this is going to be any different? It's all very well, as I said, getting the results against the lesser teams, which I think he will. But if we can't beat Celtic, then we won't win anything. It'll be simple as that. Tomorrow, I think, as I sit here now with a clear and sober head, I think it'll be a draw. To be honest, I can see this game being quite similar to the last game at Parkhead last season, where I think it was 1-1 when Sakala scored. Because I just think it's it suits and doesn't suit both teams. It really doesn't do us any favours, but it avoids a defeat for us, and if it's not already done, it all but secures Celtic the league. So right now, I don't think we'll win. I don't think we'll see either a Van Bronckhorst style collapse that we have at Parkhead. But no, I mean, honestly, right now, I couldn't say I'm too confident that I think we're going to go there and win tomorrow.
Victoria, what's your feelings about tomorrow? Do you think Rangers have got a chance of going there and getting a positive result?
Well, I'm sitting there laughing because I do slightly agree with Dave, but I'm laughing at myself because I'm always like so full on. Rangers are going to win. We're going to do great at this. We're going to be the best, so on and so forth, right? I'm like, I build them up to be these champions. Even if we do lose, I'm still like, they done a good job. This is where they done good, and I'm highlighting these good points. I think it's going to be a tough game. I really, really do. But I do believe in the team. I think that they see what we see as the fans, that we are going to have to show up to these next Old Firm games and not put our guard down. They're going to have to come out right from the get-go. And I'm going to think it's probably going to be like a 2-1 sort of win. But then again, like you, Dave, I wouldn't mind a draw. I think a draw would be great. A lose, I'd be kind of sad. The same as I'm sure everybody would be, especially the people in the chat. But I'm definitely going to go with Rangers are going to win 2-1. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, touch wood. I don't know about you, Owen, but are you nervous? Are you excited? Or how are you feeling about this game coming up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I'm like nervous about it, obviously going into, as you are before any Old Firm game, because the thoughts of losing is just awful, isn't it? And that's one of the things that's always there in the back of your mind constantly. I think the concern obviously is that it's kind of the same team, that it has been all season. It's the team that we drew 2-2 with them at Ibrox, a game we probably should have won. It's how they equip themselves. It's the team that he picks, and hopefully he'll get his team selection right tomorrow. The news, obviously, that Nico Raskin is fit is great news. Hopefully, John Lundstrom is the best. I mean, obviously, the best position I think for John Lundstrom tomorrow is at home on his couch watching it on Sky. I think that's where I would play Lundstrom tomorrow for definite. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be an interesting game, shall we say, as well. Obviously, at Parkhead, with the fact that there's going to be no Rangers fans there. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to win. I'd love to go there, shut them up. I'd love as well the winner to come in like the 90th minute as well. I know that's not good for your heart, but I'd love it to be in the 90th minute, because that would just properly shut them up, and the ground would still be full at that point. So that would be a nice way to kind of finish it off.
What I will say on is what I would be absolutely furious at tomorrow is that if we're when the game starts and if we act surprised that they're starting quick and we freeze again, if that happens, I think that's going to be a really bad sign for the end of this.
Yeah.
For the very least, for the end of this season, we can't come out there and be surprised that they're going to start quick and come at us straight away. We need to be ready for that. There could be no, like the bollocks we did the last time, like turning off when they're taking quick throw-ins and stuff. We know they do this. We know how they play. So let's not act surprised when they play that way.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And with that comment, Dave, which is absolutely fantastic that you made, how do you think we should start the game then? Obviously, we know going out full force, but how do you think the players should be? What should the mindset be?
That's a great question. If you're looking back to the cup final, I think we had our most success in that game when we were taking the game to Celtic, when we were trying to play our game, when we were passing it around them. I think in the early stages of the game, there could and probably should be a level of consolidation, try and keep things tight early on. I'm agreeing with a lot of comments I've seen in the chat about I'll wait till I see the starting 11 tomorrow before I announce how I really feel, because that's exactly how I felt the cup final. I thought I was going to Hampden that day, thought we were going to win it, and then I seen the starting 11 and my heart sank and I was like, oh god. But I don't know, if we start with Raskin and Cantwell tomorrow, I'll be encouraged. If it's and I'll be honest, at this point, I don't know if that is going to be the case. I'm very much the same as you, and I wouldn't be starting with John Lundstrom, but if a part of me expects that he will start tomorrow, if that happens, yeah, I'll be a little bit down in the dumps again. But it's another point as well that I've seen in the chat that's really true as well. The players that are on the park tomorrow, whoever it is, we need them to turn up, because too many haven't turned up for these games. That's been a major issue. And if that's the case, regardless how we set out to play, regardless of what team we set up, if the players starting the game don't turn up, then it's we're off to a loser straight away.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Owen, what's your take on that one? How do you think we could have that winning mentality when stepping out on the park for tomorrow's game? What do you think the players need to do?
Oh, I think it's very much a concept of let's go back to how we were, back in the days of Richard Gough, of those players, the Graham. As Curry made the point about the Graham Souness. I mean, perhaps not go full Graham Souness, because you'd be down about 8 men after about 20 minutes in modern football. But I think the players need to
remember it's Kevin Clancy's the referee tomorrow, so
exactly.
Oh.
I know he's slightly dodgy, shall we say? But yeah, I agree. We've got to be straight in their faces. We've got to not give them a minute to rest on the ball. We've got to be. I heard a brilliant analogy earlier on. I've heard this on a couple of pods this week, that we've got to be on the borderline between fair and red card with them. I think that's how we've got to be. Just not give them a minute and go at them. And just press them high, get in their faces. Yeah. Don't let them rest on the ball. Don't give them time to play, because look, they're not look, I know they're not. I know they're 9 points clear. I get that, but they're not a good. They're not a good team. They're look at Europe. Look at how they perform in Europe. When teams in Europe have gone at them, when teams in Europe have had a go at them, they've folded. They're nothing. And I think we've got, take a bit of a learning curve from the way European teams have played them this season, and really get after them and ragdoll them and show them that we're going to fight them every inch of the way. And if, like Dave says, if we sit off and we freeze and we act surprised like we did in the League Cup final, we're going to get it handed to us again, aren't we? But no, I think it's definitely going to be an on the edge type performance. And please God, no John Lundstrom, because he just kills all the momentum in the game. He's just gone hugely backwards since that Europa League run. And I just pray that he is nowhere near the team tomorrow, because if he is, I'd really worry. And I hope that the midfield tomorrow that is Jack, Cantwell and Raskin. I think if it's Jack, Cantwell and Raskin, I think we've got a great opportunity there, because those guys will bring energy to this team. Victoria, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you guys have to say. The referee, well, it is what it is. I feel like when I watch that certain ref, there are certain calls that are made, certain calls that are not made, that should be made. It seems more of a one-sided game when he's there, but the boys just have to show up, and we have to trust in them that they're going to have to do what they need to do. And that's all I can really say about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right about. I think you're right about the ref there. I mean, Kevin Clancy has in the past given some slightly, shall we say, questionable decisions, which kind of trying to keep it sort of legal. And Dave, do you think that the pressure, he'll feel the pressure even more tomorrow, given the fact that it's Parkhead and it's no Rangers fans and it will be solid Celtic? Do you think that's something that could swing the game?
I'm very much of the opinion that no referees are cheats. I think as soon as you go down that road, then what's the point? I mean, I don't think Kevin Clancy's a good referee whatsoever. But on the flip side of that, he has done 3 of these games before, and we've won every single one of them. On the flip side of that, his performance in the December 2019 game at Parkhead is one of the worst refereeing performances I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he could have done no more for Celtic that day without pulling on their green and grey hoops. What can happen, however, in this situation, and this is not me accusing the referees of being cheats, this is me accusing the referees of being humans. It will be easier tomorrow to give the 50-50 decisions to Celtic, because there's going to be 60,000 of their horrible hordes inside there and none of us. So it's much easier when you've got 60,000 people screaming at you to give the decision that way than it is the other way. And that's not me accusing Kevin Clancy or the end of the referee of being a cheat. I said that's me accusing them of being human beings, and just that natural thing going, oh, if I do this is going to get me abuse, even if that's just a split second thought. And listen, I've done refereeing myself to a much lower level, but even if it's a case that if I'm doing a boys under 11 game and there's a throw in that's 50-50 on the one side, if it's over by one team's sideline and I'm not sure which way it goes, I'm probably going to give it to the team whose sideline it's on, because then their manager isn't going to shout in my face. That happens, it's referees will make the easy decisions almost subconsciously, and that could happen tomorrow.
I think you're right there. I don't think any referee sets out to cheat. I don't think, not in this day and age anywhere, where obviously you've got so many cameras, you've got so much, so much technology on it. I think there is obviously a deficiency in Scottish refereeing. I think there is a deficiency in standards there. And I think on the whole, there is things that could be done to help develop it refereeing in Scotland. But you're 100% right. If you're refereeing a game and it is in an atmosphere where it is hostile, and like you, Dave, I have refereed football, obviously not to a massively high level, like kids football, Sunday football, things like that. You are more inclined to give decisions in favour of a team if you're, like you said, you're close to their sideline, or there's more of them around than the others. It's just it's a natural human response, isn't it? And look, referees can be very poor. Don't get me wrong; they do make some decisions where you're just like, oh my goodness, why on earth did you make that decision? But I think it's one of the hardest jobs to do. I really do, because no matter what you do, you get pressure from both teams. And having done the job myself, been a ref, it is such, and you get no thanks if you get it. If you get it right, well, that's what you should do. If you get it wrong, God, do you hear about it from the sidelines and the fans of teams? So I think it definitely could be a situation that could be interesting to watch tomorrow. But I think obviously VAR may help things out as well, having VAR around for those key decisions, especially for penalties, things like that. So it's going to be a very,
imagine
very
if we get a VAR penalty tomorrow. Oh, it'd be delicious. It'd be absolutely delicious.
Be so happy.
A part of me would take that over winning, I think, right now, to be honest, just for the meltdown in the moment. But no, yeah, listen, I think the main problem over everyone else we've talked about and everyone else surrounding it is he's just simply not a good referee.
Yeah,
I agree with you a little bit there. I think I like what you said. He's human. Humans make mistakes. But then again, going back to what Owen said, that's what VAR is there for, right? It's supposed to be there to slow down things, to really, truly look at those fine details to make the right decisions. So, but hey, definitely if a penalty is awarded because of a certain situation, I would take that. I think that would be the icing on top of the cake for me.
Yeah,
listen, I like Curry Muncher's comments in the chat there. Like, if we put our best, we'll not need to worry about the ref. Yep, take the game into the referee's hands. Let's concentrate on ourselves. If we play to our best, what I think this team's capable of, I think we've got every chance of winning. I just don't believe that we're capable of playing to our best at the moment. But let's take the game out of the referee's hands tomorrow. Let's concentrate on ourselves.
Yeah,
that is one thing. Absolutely, and that is one thing I think most you need to do. You just need to play at your best, the best you can play. And at the end of the day, that takes it completely away from the ref, and it's then down 100% to your players and your coaching staff, isn't it? So, I mean, we've obviously got these next 3 Old Firm games. It is going to be tough. Obviously, one at Parkhead, one at Ibrox, and obviously probably arguably the most important is at the end of the month with that semi-final at Hampden Park, where we are going to have fans from both sides. In terms of the outcome of those next 3 games, is it more about leaving a mark on Celtic and setting a marker down ready for next season, Dave, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love for us to win all 3. I think if we don't win any of them, that would be an absolute disaster going into next season, because the pressure would be so high straight away. I think the way things are in the league, that the semi-final is the most important one. I think to finish the season with a trophy, then winning our treble would be just a horrible situation all in. Just 3 positive results. I think if we can avoid defeat in the next 3 games over them, that would be a good place to start. But I am greedy, so I would like to see 3 wins from 3.
Victoria, what do you think? Is it about laying down a marker ready for next year, laying a glove on them and cutting them ready for next year?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Dave had to say. I think it comes up to showing that, yes, we have our head in the game now. We're coming out full force from the start. This is the team that you see right now. And by the way, during the summertime, when we add extra players into it and we make the changes we want to make, you have to watch out for us coming next season, because you've seen how we've ended it. Yes, we're probably not going to win the league, but you're going to see a great team, hopefully, especially show up to these last couple of games, because it's not just the fans watching the game. I think the team also knows the pressure behind them when it comes to showing up to games like this. They also don't want to be criticized by the fans or anything like that. They want to show how great of a team that they are, that they can actually play together and say, hey, we're trying our hardest. Watch what we're going to do next season. That's just my opinion on that one. What do you think, Owen?
Yeah, I think it is all about laying down a marker. And I think, the team that we see next season is going to be very, very different. Beale's already indicated that. I think, he's indicated that he wants those 5 new faces that he's given, those 5 names that he's given to Ross Wilson. And his comment was very telling. And when he said that there is no limit on the number of players that we're going to bring in this summer, I think obviously with the 9 lads that are out of contract this summer, there's obviously decisions to be made there. So I think the team that lines up next year will be very, very different to this team. I think there could be some real changes. But what's encouraging for me is if you look at what Beale's done so far in terms of player acquisition, I know Ross Wilson buys the players, but it does seem to me that Michael Beale identifies the players. if Raskin and Cantwell are an indication of the type of players that Beale can identify, that is very promising indeed, because both of those boys have been absolute class since they've come in to the team, and absolutely superb. I mean, Dave, what's your take on Raskin and Cantwell since they've come to Rangers?
Yeah, been very impressed with the pair of them so far. They just offer a bit of drive in that midfield that we've been severely lacking for some time now. I think going into next season, if we can get Lawrence back firing again as well, the three of them in there is very, very exciting. I'd still be hoping that we could build on that as well and maybe move on some of the players we've got in midfield at the moment. I think they've both had tremendous starts to the Rangers' career. Really disappointing with Raskin getting that injury the last couple of weeks. So I wouldn't expect him to be at full guns tomorrow, but if we can get an 80% Raskin for 60 minutes, that could make a massive difference. I'm just reading as well something that's really worrying me, that Golson is out tomorrow, so that's a bit of a spanner in the works.
Is that confirmed? Is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, great. Who
Obviously,
do you think?
I need to get on my computer and figure this out now.
Who do you think comes in for him? That's the question, I think. Oh God,
Shitter and Davies tomorrow then.
Maybe, yeah, definitely. Kind of links, Victoria, I think, to your next question on this day.
Yeah, so that kind of changes things a little bit for me, because I was going to be talking now about the lineup, what we think is the lineup. So it's an interesting, just throwing that little curveball in there for us. What do you think the lineup is going to be like, Dave, for tomorrow? Who'd you like to see out there on the pitch?
Connor Golson, but that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Do you know what? I'm not sure, because I'd be tempted to maybe try something different up front, rather than Morelos and Morelos or Kolak. Maybe try Tillman in that role, or Sakala playing in the middle with Tillman off him, and have Cantwell, Raskin behind them. I think the defence. I don't know if the plan was to go into this game playing with the back five, because we have been trying that over the last couple of weeks. Right now, I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think if Golson is out, and I very much think that is the case now, I think that probably changes things a bit, and we will see the traditional back four. I would have liked to have seen Yilmaz playing this game. I think the fact he never played the other week suggests that Barisic is going to start tomorrow. I think a lot of it is really up in the air right now. I if you're a betting man, I think it would be wasted money trying to predict the starting 11 tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, especially that news that you just said. Like, who knows what's going to happen with that? Who I have down is McGregor, Borna, Davis, Goldson is who I had down. Tav, Raskin, Kent, Cantwell, Jack, Tillman, of course, Armin, Fashion, Sakala. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I wonder what's going to happen there. And something that I always think about, of course, he is my favorite player, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm very curious, even though he's just getting over this injury, are they going to give Hadji a chance in the last, let's say, 10 minutes? Or because this is such an intense game, are they going to keep a player off because it's maybe a little bit too much? What's your opinion on that? And obviously, Hadji as a player, does he deserve to get a chance to come into the last little bit of a game? Or do you think he should just stay in the background a little bit and not injure himself again? Too much too soon, sort of thing.
I think so. I think it would be too much too soon for him at the moment. I think if we bring him on 10 minutes to go chasing the game, I think that's going to speak volumes of how our days went, and not in a good way.
Yeah. How about you, Owen? What's your opinion on that? And obviously a player being injured, and then does he deserve a chance in such a crucial game to us? Or should he just be kind of put on the sidelines, be okay, relax, watch how it goes, maybe the third one along, or the second game? What do you think of that one? Should he give him a chance, or no?
I think you're right. It is too much of a risk. I think the fact that that he's a sort of player you would have to bring on if we were chasing the game, but it's kind of a lot to put on him, especially as he's hardly got any minutes under his belt recently. I mean, obviously he was ill last weekend, missed the penalty. That's the reason he missed the Dundee game. Was he was ill? It was no other reason. There was no other reason behind it. He obviously only played a few minutes in the Wraith Rovers Cup tie. And I can't really remember him playing a great deal of other minutes. I think he played a little bit against Hibs, maybe. I think he came on near the end for very little limited time. So I think it's kind of a big game to put him into. You'd have to be looking sort of, I think, perhaps St Mirren next week if you're going to blood him at all. Definitely not an Old Firm game. Definitely not at Parkhead. And I know Victoria, you would love to see him, but perhaps he can come and sit next to you. He can come and sit and watch the game with you instead, Victoria.
Absolutely. I'll fly him over here to Canada, no problem. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think it would be the wrong decision to put a player that obviously hasn't had so much time on the pitch into such an intense atmosphere when we all know what's riding on a game like this. So yeah, definitely maybe stay in the background, watch, and then the next game, put him on for a little bit more and keep increasing his time.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, personally, I'd like to see us do something different tomorrow. That's what I'd like to see. I think
like one.
Obviously a lot of sorry,
like one.
Yeah, that win.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the formation, I mean, if you go back to the days of the late great Walter Smith, there always used to be times I was felt with Walter that he would bring in a player where you'd go, why is he playing? And then it would become so evident in the game that that's why he's on the pitch. And oh my God, that's a brilliant tactical stroke by Walter. And obviously, Walter was absolutely, and obviously, Walter was the greatest. I'd like to see him try something different tomorrow. But, Celtic would have been prepping all week and would have been prepping probably for us to play our usual 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, whatever. Play Morelos or Cholak up front. I'd like to see him really throw a bit of curveball in there. Perhaps go with Kent, Tillman, and Sakala up front. Play with Tillman as a bit of a false nine and get Kent and Sakala to rotate in as well. Really make that a very much a mobile front three that are going to move everywhere and really confuse that Celtic back four. They are not great defending. They're not great at the back. And those three guys are quick. They're mobile. They're skillful. Just do something different. And then if it isn't working, you've then got Cholak on the bench. You've got Morelos on the bench to change it if you need to. But it's just something different to kind of, I don't know, a bit of a left field thing and just something to throw Celtic because Celtic will be expecting us to play 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, whatever. They'll be expecting to face Alfie or Cholak up front. And that's what they've been prepping for all week. I mean, Dave, would you like to see him throw a bit of a curveball in there? Perhaps Tillman as a false nine or Sakala up front?
Yeah, because I'd agree with what you're saying there. I think the more movement we've got up in the forward line, the better our chances are. I would like to see something like that tomorrow. And listen, I rate Kolak very highly. My problem with Kolak remains from what it is from when we signed the guy. I just don't think he fits into how we play. I think he's a fantastic finisher, but I think you need to build the team around him if you're going to have him in the squad. And the team, I mean, God knows where we'd be right now if it wasn't for his goals in the early part of the season. I mean, we're still talking here with this faint hope that we could nick something in these last two games like against Celtic and maybe make a meal of it. That would be, far gone at this point if we didn't have Kolak's goals. But I just, for playing against them, I'd agree. If we manage to spread their defence out, go at them fast, lots of movement, then we can damage them.
100%. Victoria, would you like to see him throw a bit of a curveball in there and perhaps, start with Kent, Tillman, Sakala up front and kind of move things around?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. It's always nice to throw a little element of surprise in there. Sorry, I had to leave for a second, by the way. The computer was not plugged in and it said it was about to die. So I had to go get the plug.
No worries.
But yeah, it's always good to pop a little bit of an element of surprise in there. You don't want them to think that we're predictable, that we have a team that they're like, okay, well, this is probably what they're going to do, so we'll do it this way. So that's my opinion on that one. Why not throw a little curveball, a little surprise somebody's way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Victoria, I think you've got one more question we're going to ask.
I do. So if Rangers were to lose the next 3 games against Celtic, Do you think that Beale would be on the short leash for next season? Do you think he'd be a little bit under pressure for that one? Or do you think he's going to be able to do his own thing? Dave, I'll let you answer that one first.
Absolutely. The pressure would be on straight away. If we lose these last 3 games against Celtic, then there's absolutely no margin for error going into next season. We would need to hit the ground running. I think there's going to be a lot of expectations for that anyway, but the pressure would be even more intensified. I don't think it's an option, quite frankly, for us to lose these last 3 games. I think it sends a horrid message and a horrid prospect going into the next season. Thankfully, I don't think we will. I'm not sure how many of the 3 games left that we'll win. But yeah, we need to have, a positive outcome from these last 3 games to just build some momentum going into next season.
I agree.
I just seen a very interesting thing pop online here. I don't know if my dad handed me the phone here, and I was just taking a read at it. I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, but is it Rio Hatante? Hatate?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's out of the match against Rangers tomorrow.
Oh, Hatate, the winger,
Yeah.
That's decent news.
I just found that one out. That's very interesting. Hopefully that's good news for us.
Definitely. So, I mean, overall, let's kind of sort of bring it to round things up, guys, and let's give some predictions for tomorrow's game. I know predictions are very hard to make, and the old firm especially, isn't it? It is a very hard game to predict.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that you could get a player sent off in the first minute, or anything could happen. So let's start with Victoria. Victoria, what's your predictions for a scoreline for tomorrow?
So I'm going to go with 2-1. I think that's going to be it for us. I'm going to hope for a Rangers win. Like Dave said earlier, draw would be absolutely fantastic, but I'm going to boost them up to a win. So I'm going to say 2-1. What do you think, Dave?
Do you know, I think I've been quite level-headed, maybe even a bit downbeat talking about the game tomorrow. With all that being said, fuck it, 4-0 Rangers.
I hope you're right. 6-0.
I'd love that. I love the optimism, Dave. You know what? That would make my weekend if that happened. It would make getting up at 3 a.m. tomorrow worth it. I've said all week 2-1 Rangers. I think Kent Tillman will score, so I'm going for 2-1. That's my prediction for tomorrow. We've got some predictions in the live chat. We've got Reddy says 4-0 the Teddy Bears, agreeing with you, Dave. RRM says 2-1 Rangers, Kent to score. Alexander says 3-1 Rangers. Nicholas Moore says 2-0 Rangers, Cantwell, and controversially Alfie. And C-Max 3-1 Davis first goal. That'll be an interesting one. I think that'll probably be a set piece, wouldn't it? So definitely. Okay, so let's sum things up and get everybody's final thoughts going into the weekend. Dave, what's your final thoughts for all the viewers ahead of the game tomorrow?
Just win, Rangers. Just win.
Good, short and simple. Yeah. Like it. Victoria, what's your final thoughts?
I agree with Dave. I hope they win. You know what? I think we want this really, really bad. We want to win every Old Firm game that we go into. But these next 3 games are super important to show up, show who we are, and let them know who they're coming up against next season. So fingers crossed for a win. Draw's okay, but let's win this. We are the people.
Absolutely. David, where could people find you, follow you, get more of your work? Let the people know, the little plug.
Follow me on Twitter at MarshallDave38, where you can hear more and then nonsense like I've been speaking for the last hour. Of course, you can find me on Heart and Hand. Yeah, I don't know how much I need to plug Heart and Hand. We're fairly popular. But no, I've really enjoyed this, guys. Always good to see more fan media coming through. You guys really enjoyed the chat over the last hour. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on, Dave. Thank you. One final question that I know that came a little bit back ago. This is for Victoria. I answered this question myself last night. I think it was Curry Munch who asked, and I don't think he's obviously seen your video, Victoria, because obviously been out in Canada. I probably can't find the question now, but been out in Canada. Obviously, some people don't know your background. How did you become a Rangers fan, Victoria? That's what Curry asked.
Well, I know you probably don't know this by my accent, but I was born in Glasgow and lived on the west coast in Ayr for about 14 years of my life. So I grew up a Rangers supporter. I was born a Rangers supporter. It was in my blood. So I always think if you're picking one side or the other, you're in it for life. And that's me. I'm a Rangers girl through and through. That will be the team for the rest of my life, no matter if we're at the top of the league, the bottom of the league, whether we're in the third division or the division that we're in now. That would be a team that I always support through and through because I'm just so passionate about the team. And they're our family. That's what we call ourselves, is the Rangers family. So that's a little bit about me and yeah, how I became a Rangers supporter and why I'm still a Rangers supporter.
Thank you very much,
So,
Victoria.
so
Okay, thank
does my
Yeah.
exotic accent not lead any mystery? No.
I love your
Yeah, I mean,
exotic accent. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
You're from Australia, right?
Round about that area somewhere.
Yeah,
Close to it.
he lives on the central. You can see from the background, he lives on the central coast, just about an hour out of Sydney, I think.
Yeah. I
That's
think
it.
that
I knew
the
it.
opera
I
house is in
knew
the
it.
background there. Yeah.
I knew I heard the singing.
Apparently, the reason he asked was because he has family in Motherwell called Searle. Apparently, there we go. You're
Oh,
everywhere.
interesting. So
You might be
maybe
related.
we're like distantly related or something like that.
Scary. That's a scary thought for you, Victoria. Trust me, if you ever met Curry. Okay, right. Curry, I love this comment, Dave. This is aimed at you.
The tan gave it away. Yeah, I'm very tanned. You know,
That's it.
I've got the most West Coast Scotland ginger skin you can imagine. But yeah, only tan I get is my freckles. I'll stick together. But there we go.
Okay,
Dave, come
guys.
to Jamaica with me next time. We'll get you sorted out.
I'll see if I can fly that one with my missus. I don't think I'll be able to. I don't think I'll be able to get that.
Bring everybody. Make it a family trip. Rangers
Bring
trip.
the two
Owen,
kids,
you too.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Right, let's finish this off then. So obviously tomorrow, guys, let's hope for a positive result coming out of the game at Parkhead tomorrow. So we go out there from minute one, go at them and let them know exactly that they're in a match. Thank you so much to Dave for coming on tonight. Thank you to Victoria, and thank you to everyone in the live chat, guys. That's what makes these lives worthwhile, is having obviously people in the live chat with their questions, their comments, and their thoughts, guys. Thank you so much for choosing to Glasgow Rangers Nation. Please give this video a like, and please obviously hit the sub if you haven't already done so, and keep coming back for daily news, views, and updates. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Speak to you again really soon here on Glasgow Rangers Nation.